Next 20 minutes, what I will try to explain as to how artificial intelligence is going to influence medical professionals. All of you know that because of artificial intelligence, the certain jobs, like for example, software engineers, being replaced. I'm not saying they're physically replaced, but a significant amount of work which was being done by them is now done by the AI. Naturally, people start worrying whether this AI will intrude in multiple professions. One of the important ones which concerns us is doctors and physicians. What will happen to physicians over next 20, 25, 30, 40 years when AI spreads its wings on most of the things professions do? So let's define artificial intelligence. It's a branch of computer science that uses computational models to perform tasks that previously required human intelligence. And what are those tasks? To memorize, to learn from experience, to judge, to analyze, to suggest and advise, to make decisions, and to execute and create things. The last thing is called generative AI. And that is most scary. Memorizing, learning from experience is all right. Even computers used to do it, to memorize things. But to analyze things, to make suggestions, and sometimes to execute and create new things is something which is phenomenal when you're talking about AI. Now, first thing one must remember is AI is not automation, and automation is not AI. For example, you had typewriters in the past. Now you have Xerox machines. This is not AI. This is simply automation. So we'll see what exactly AI is. Previously, you used to make tea and coffee on burners, and now you have artificial machines which make it. But suppose tomorrow you go and start making coffee in the morning on your coffee machine, and imagine that the coffee machine starts speaking to you, saying that, Dr. So-and-so, I've been watching you for the last many years, and your favorite coffee is cappuccino with little bit of sugar and more milk. So can I suggest you something? Press number 3 and you will get what you want. Now, this is what is artificial intelligence. And actually, slowly people are, getting there. And this kind of artificial intelligence is really, really fascinating. Let's look at simple tasks. Last 2 years, like 2015 to 2017. So this is almost 8 years ago. But look at the ability of the AI system, to answer questions. It has become close to human performance. Now it has already crossed it. So this is till 2017. If you plot this graph now, the blue line has already crossed the red line. The same thing has happened with speech recognition and object detection. The AI has crossed this ability of humans to detect objects long ago. Now, what do the experts say? Now, Kaifuli, all of you may be knowing, he's the CEO of Innovation. He said AI will replace 50% of jobs within next decade. Vinod Khosla is an Indian venture capitalist in US. He said AI will replace 80% of doctors in next decade. And Professor Jeffrey Hinton, who is the father of AI, he famously said we should stop training radiologists, indicating that radiology jobs are going to vanish. Now, there is a lot of truth in what they say, but the truth is not the whole truth. It's partially true, but if we will see, how this is going to pan out. Now, I will play a video which is from Agent Hospital in China.
Hospital with no reception, no lines, and no doctors. Welcome to China's smart hospitals. Here you check in with facial recognition. An AI scans your symptoms. A robotic arm draws your blood. And your test results? Analyzed in seconds by a cloud-based system. Prescriptions are prepared by automated pharmacies. Even surgeries are assisted by surgical robots. This isn't a prototype. It's already happening in cities like Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Hangzhou. While the world struggles with doctor shortages, China is building hospitals that run on data, not paper. Diagnosis accuracy is rising. Waiting times are dropping, and millions are already using AI-assisted care daily. This isn't just technology. It's a revolution in healthcare. The future of medicine may not wear a white coat. It might just run on Chinese code. Red Whisper is a project to share China's pride with the world. Your support makes this voice louder. 智慧医疗 Hospital.
So, isn't it scary? This is already happening in China. Now, China's Agent Hospital is still a research tool for testing AI-based healthcare. It is not a public hospital for real people yet. But soon, maybe in a couple of years, they will start treating patients, at least trial on human beings. Presently, no human beings are being treated there, but this is what it will look like. Now, if you really look at the medical profession, What are the medical professional does multi-layered tasks? What do we do as physicians or as clinicians or as doctors? Cognitive skills. We take history and we do physical examination. Then certain professions, certain subspecialties in medicine, they mainly deal with pattern recognition, mainly radiologists, dermatologists, and ophthalmologists. Their job is just to look at the skin or look at the X-ray and make a diagnosis. Number three, manual skills. You perform surgery, angioplasty, perform abdominal tapping, biopsies. These are all manual skills. Human interactive skills. They are mainly empathy, bonding with the patient, hand holding, trust and rapport building. So these are, innately human traits, which are extremely important when you deal with patients on everyday basis. Then we also deal with deeply moral, ethical, and philosophical issues in your day-to-day practice, and we'll see how. Then lastly, taking responsibility and being accountable. These are certain things which every professional, medical professional, has to do in his day-to-day practice. Now, this is the kind of sentence which every clinician hears from his patients once in a while. And that gives you a lot of strength. Even the patient, draws a lot of confidence from the doctor. And this is what medicine is meant for. This makes medicine worth practicing. A robot or algorithm will never be able to perform certain jobs, at least for now. Robot cannot replace empathy because empathy is a deeply human trait. Listening intently to the patient, building trust, paying attention to their feelings and needs, hand holding, compassionate and responsive in a manner that patient feels that he's understood. So this is, again, as I said, this is innately human. Creative thinking, intuition, and gut feeling. These are other things on which we practice medicine. Many times you look at the patient and you have a gut feeling that this patient has, say, perforation of the bowel, or it doesn't look good. He's sick. So this happens after years and years of your experience, years and years of practicing medicine, clinical medicine in your clinic and in the hospital. Now look at this patient. Now he's walking with a limp, and we ask differential diagnosis about this patient to people, and they came with number of differential diagnoses like stroke, sequelae, acute injury to leg or foot, congenital hemiplegia, cerebral palsy, limb shortening, number of it, including DVT, ischemia. And then what was it finally? And look at the diagnosis. The diagnosis was this. Now, our human trait of making a diagnosis, this will be diagnosed only by a human being. This is just a funny example of how number of other things matter when you're practicing clinical medicine. I will give you another example. This patient was seen by my father in 1990s, and he was a 12-year-old boy from a wealthy family, politician's family from Jalgaon. Comes home in the evening feeling lethargic. He soon became drowsy, had convulsions, and lost consciousness. He was intubated and referred to our hospital. That time, Bajaj Hospital was in the old building. Lab work was normal, CSF, CT scan, and MR was normal. And then, every possible investigation was done and everything was negative. Nobody knew. Every differential diagnosis was considered. And, patient remained on the ventilator, remained deeply comatose. And next day, during, changing the bed, a nurse noticed these marks on the back of his heel. And she called a physician and they looked at it and it was looking like a snake bite, a fang bites. So this was a cobra bite. And this was a neuroparalytic cobra bite. Patient was given proper treatment and he woke up. He discharged. And then this gentleman, he was a politician. He still is active politician from Jalgaon. He threw a huge party in Jalgaon when every staff from our hospital was invited. So this is how certain things, human ingenuity, human observation can work, where I personally feel AI will find it little difficult in making such diagnosis. Now, another thing is reading between the lines. When you talk to the patient, you understand context, nuances of languages, culture, and social interaction. Now, for example, you practice in Medical College Aurangabad, and then you have at least 10 patients telling you that you have palak sukh gaya, zaban ko kaate aate, hata paira khiste. You know what it means because this is symptoms coming out of local culture and the local expression. Second thing is recognizing denial. Sometimes patients walk into the clinic and the way they are describing their chest pain, he has heart disease. This is angina. But the way he tells you is denial. He is in complete denial. So he will try to trivialize things. He will try to take you away from the chest and he will tell you that I also get pain in the right hip also at the same time. So these patients are in denial, and you should be able to figure out they're trying to play tricks. And this kind of detection of denial behavior is, again, it comes to you with experience. It will be very difficult for AI to detect this. So this is called separating wheat from the chaff. Sometimes patients are financially challenged. You can make it out from their facial expressions. You write a expensive medicine and look at their facial expression, and you know that this gentleman is going to find it very difficult to buy it. Poor family support, loneliness, depression. These are the elephants in the room. And if you fail to diagnose that, if you fail to detect it, your treatment is going to be incomplete. And the patient is going to go home with an incomplete management of his illness. Now, as I said, we deal with moral and ethical issues every day. I will give you examples. For example, when it comes to choosing between sanctity of life versus quality of life, for example, putting a terminally ill patient on a ventilator, or a physician assisted dying where it is legal, or it is requested when it is not legal. These are tough situations. Balancing honesty and benevolence. How much to disclose to a dying patient about prognosis? Whether to tell a dying patient about prognosis when family asks you not to. What to do in these situations? Justice or fairness versus utility, that is maximizing overall good. Deciding who gets the ventilator during a pandemic, or who receives the donor organ when multiple patients are qualifying for the same. Patient's autonomy versus ability to reason. Treating patient with dementia who refuses care, or determining competence of a psychiatric patient to make decisions. Confidentiality versus public good. What to do with HIV positive patients. Progress of science versus duty to protect individuals. Conducting clinical trials on highly vulnerable populations. These are ethical dilemmas. These are moral issues. And as evolved human beings, we are all expected and supposed to take proper decisions in these situations and give best to the patient. Imagine asking these questions to a robot or a machine. It will be very, very difficult for that machine to answer such questions. So another important thing is adaptability in unpredicted circumstances. For example, you open the abdomen and you are completely flummoxed. You are seeing something which was totally unexpected, and it becomes now a very, very complex procedure of surgery. So, here human beings, their experience is supreme. Sudden cardiac death in a patient who is about to be discharged. These are situations where immediate actions are wanted, and they are absolutely instrumental. Your friend chokes on a bone while eating dinner with you. And then in this situation, you perform the Heimlich maneuver and save him. These are, again, innately human endeavors. Smart machines need smart professionals. The problems with AI is output is only as good as input, accuracy. If you put garbage in, it will be garbage out. So it all depends on the quantity and the quality of the data you feed to these machines. That is extremely important. Second thing is interpretability. And third thing is data protection and security. These are huge problems. When you start feeding machines with data, security becomes and data protection becomes a huge issue. Accountability and redressal. Now, who would you sue if things go wrong? Are you going to take that AI machine to the court? Blood and body fluid pathology is today done by all machines, but a human has to sign it. Why is it so? Simply because if something is wrong, something goes wrong, you have a person or a body who is accountable and who can be asked questions, who is given some responsibility, and he can be sued if you want to justice from the court. So there should be a holistic understanding of human wellness. Health is not merely absence of disease, but presence of physical, mental, and emotional, social well-being. This is how we as human practitioners practice medicine. I think it will be a long way before machines start practicing medicine and they have understanding of medicine like we do. But there are certain jobs which will be threatened to some extent. And those jobs are radiologists, dermatologists, and ophthalmologists. I will give an example. A friend of mine sent me a photograph of his mother who had a black discoloration, kind of a lesion, black discoloration on her cheek. And what I did was I put it and showed it to AI and then consulted a dermatologist. Honestly, I will tell you that the answer given by AI was much more comprehensive. It was so elaborate. He not only made the diagnosis, told me about the treatment, about the follow-up, what not to do, and what is the rare possibility differential diagnosis. So I think, radiologists, dermatologists, and possibly ophthalmologists may have some kind of threat from AI, But I personally feel it will not vanish from the scene simply because, as I said, a human has different qualities which are required while treating patients. So we do number of things now which used to be done by our hands, but still certain jobs. If somebody tells me that your hair will be cut by a machine, I would be extremely worried and I would not put my head in any machine, however accurate it may be. So it is never technology versus humans. It is always technology and us. It is with technology. We should stop enemy image building. We are on the same team. So good doctors can become better doctors with technology. Artificial intelligence is no match for human stupidity. So we should not be stupid enough to just say that doctors are going to go away. Einstein said only two things are infinite: the universe and human stupidity. I'm not sure about the former. So this is my last slide. Medical profession is here to stay. AI will add to the profession but will never replace it. Machine cannot substitute for human qualities which are needed to be a doctor. AI can diminish the role of certain specialties like radiology and dermatology. But the last thing, which is most important, is doctors who will not use AI will be replaced. So thank you very much for your patient hearing.